Hey biologists, let's take a look at something that is used in systems thinking. It's called a flow diagram. We're going to take a look at a flow diagram that tracks energy flowing through a simple ecosystem. And so we're going to look at it together and see how energy flows as compared to matter cycling. So most terrestrial ecosystems have an input of sunlight coming into the system. All right, so sunlight is a form of electromagnetic energy, and the sun produces it. It comes through our atmosphere, and it hits some non-living things such as the soil, which mostly releases it as heat. It's transformed from those photons into the movement of molecules within the soil, and it's mostly released as heat and not done really much of anything within the biological system in that way. Also, it can hit water. It can be absorbed by water, heating the water up, increasing its temperature and movement of particles, but mostly that is also given off as heat, not very useful to biological systems. But sunlight is used most often through a system called photosynthesis, where photosynthesis converts that sunlight, that energy, into a chemical energy stored in glucose in plants, right? So that chemical energy is then available for those living things. So this arrow shows that light energy is then being absorbed by the trees through their leaves and also other plants. And these producers are able to do that trapping of light energy through the process of photosynthesis. Now, their cells do something called cellular respiration, and cellular respiration then releases that energy as heat as well. So notice that just like sunlight hitting soil releases heat, or sunlight hitting water releases heat, there's some heat given off that is an inefficient form of energy that can't be used by the living things at that level. So trees, leaves, and plants also give off heat, and some of it is lost to the environment. And that's the flow of energy, sunlight to the leaves of plants, and then being given off to the environment as heat. And so that's an inefficiency. Only so much of the energy that is given off by the sun is able to be captured by producers. Now, let's take a look at the energy that was captured by producers. It can go to a number of different places. So it can be stored as chemical potential energy in acorns and seeds. And that energy packet that's in an acorn or seed is there for a potentially developing plant. Those seeds and acorns can be dormant for a number of years even, and that energy can be unused for that time. Also, trees are consumed by other consumers, right? Primary consumers could be squirrels or birds that eat parts of those trees or leaves. Also, it can be shed as biomass and go into decomposers, right? And through soil be taken in, and those nutrients then through respiration of fungi and other decomposers through cellular respiration be given off as heat as well. So that energy that came from the sun was trapped in the bonds of the trees, leaves, and plants, those producers, were then passed on to consumers, right? Or stored in energy reserves of acorns or seeds, which then could also be eaten by squirrels and birds. And their metabolism then also through cell respiration gives off that energy as heat. So at each step along the way, there is some inefficiency where heat is being given off to the environment and it can't be recouped or reused by those organisms. Okay? And so this is the flow of energy going from sunlight all the way down to decomposers and ultimately out as heat. And this is why we call it a flow diagram, because it starts in one place, there's an input and there's an output. And that energy along the way is transformed or transferred to different things. And this is what we call the energy flow chart. So energy flows through an ecosystem, and we'll take a look at matter and see how matter acts differently within an ecosystem in that it doesn't flow, but it cycles among the component pieces of an ecosystem.